how we show up in to the dance with a woman in our personal relationships, how we show up to build a work in the world or our art or our culture. What do I need to do in what order in order to get a good result? There's almost a mechanical process. So kind of any seduction method that runs you through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in order to go from zero, ice cold, all the way to your, boiling hot. But also with how do I build my business? How do I put on a weekend? There is a map and a process that you ideally step people through.
It's an embodied way of learning, right? It's lived example. If I could give some lessons or lectures over a couple of days that might give some guys some ideas on how to have a different perspective going forward, or a different practice going forward in their life. But if you sit in the simmering energy of reconvening and coming together and really starting to feel and flow, you become more like what you're involved with. I'm this guy, and you don't apologize for it. This is a call for men that want to look at their life as an artful expression, as something they're creating as art. And if you're that guy, then the trivialities of this kind of conversation must serve your greater vision of what you want your life to look like. And you want her to buy into that. You want her to be involved in that. You want her to support that. And you want to celebrate her in her own version of that. I meet you and I think you're incredible. And my whole inquiry about you is, are you part of this journey that I'm on? Because you look like it, you feel like it, and it's exciting. But I'm dedicated to that trajectory above all.
So just launch into what I've been thinking about, because I think for both of us, one of the big stories of the winter, we've just been on a winter break, two and a bit months maybe since our last episode. The era of the guild is firmly underway, and it's taken some time to build that out and stabilize it and firm up this group. I think we're at 30 or 31 men from all around the world with a strong commitment to this work and this message. And we just had our first retreat with you, which was here actually in my house in Bali. So you came over here. I was expecting maybe 10 or 12 who would comfortably fit in the living room. We had 21. We just about managed to kind of get everyone seated and in through the door and watered and snacked and all the rest of it. And we had our first retreat here. And for a lot of people, it was definitely their first time in Bali. For many people, it was also the first time out of their country or out of their continent. So we had some Americans that hadn't left America before, Europeans that had been around Europe, but not you've never been to this part of Asia either.
I've not been, no, my first time.
So I think the sheer novelty of being here was very transformative to a lot of people, even before anything else. But what probably the biggest thing on my mind was, I checked in with each of the guys after they left, and I received some comments about the experience of the weekend of being in a group of men like this. And a couple of people have said things like, I've been in a number of different men's groups before, or retreats for men, or exploring these themes of masculinity, attraction, relationship, inner work, outer work, you name it. I've been in 10, 15 years. I've kind of done everything. And I've had people say it was really, really unique what we've got going on here in the guild, because first of all, the speed of how quickly people could drop in and be vulnerable and admit what they're looking for, what they're longing for, what they want to create, seemed to be very, very fast. And the sense of trust and instantaneousness of the connection that they had felt really remarkable for a lot of the guys. So I've been in the coaching and group facilitation world for about 20 years. I've seen a lot of things. I've been well trained. I've followed on my spare Saturday and Sundays masters all up and down the country where I'm from, around the world, sitting in the workshops as a freebie, on the side, making tea for everyone to learn how they do the trade. And apart from a couple of crazy outliers, most people put a structure into their workshop. first of all, we're going to get everyone to, get to know your partner, do this little exercise, turn around and do this. There are things that you do, icebreakers, if you will, to try and build a coherent group dynamic. And as soon as we started with the guild, yeah, that we had some intro calls online and so on, but as soon as we started the guild, there has almost been no need at all for breaking the ice and building a sense of group dynamic or culture. Almost no need. And this is really, really rare. And I had one of the men followed up with me and he said, yeah, I had an amazing week. I was really hesitant coming to Bali and realizing there was a lack of structure. Like, what's going on? I haven't had a list of what the exercises are going to be or what I need to do. Really, really. So some people were really, really, and he goes back to the States and he's like, well, this has changed kind of automatically and I'm doing this different. And I just took a few risks and showed up this way. And it felt like, even though there was no structure, I somehow got a lot of things that I needed. So
yeah, let me
one
make
of,
a comment on that,
yeah,
because the difference between this and a normal weekend intensive we've done for years, we've done many, many, many programs like that, is you are trying to condense that get to know you resolution, solve problems, come to salvation at the end in one weekend or 1 week. But the tone of the guild is, this is just the starting point of, in my mind, many years of collaboration and collusion with these gentlemen, as we build something going forward, as we unfurl this. So it didn't have that urgency of structure and the plan and resolve all your issues in one, in a weekend, because we're in this for the long haul. We're going the distance together. And so we've got plenty of time to just kind of sit in these concepts materially and existentially as we move forward. So that's the difference to me. It's like, this is a collaboration that's been launched, as opposed to a weekend intensive that we're going to give you some solution. So
I've got two things in my mind on equal footing as we explore this. And one of them is how we show up to the dance with a woman in our personal relationships.
mm-hmm.
And the other one is how we show up to build a work in the world, or our art or our culture, or in this case, our weekend intensive, our workshop, our year long, or whatever, how we go about creating the world. So what I think the conventional way of thinking through this is, what do I need to do in what order in order to get a good result? There is almost a mechanical process. So kind of any seduction method that runs you through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps in order to go from zero, ice cold, all the way to your boiling hot. But also with, how do I build my business? How do I put on a weekend? There is a map and a process that you ideally step people through. That, I think, is what's in most people's thinking. What I'm contemplating is, how do I transmit a context for a certain way of living and a certain way of being?
Right.
It's a bit of a technical term, I think, for some people, but how do I transmit a context? So I'm not going to walk you through any steps. I'm not going to give you any predictable process to make you feel safe or let you know what's going to happen next. I'm going to show up and be myself in a particular way. And through me being myself, you're going to get it, or you're going to get something, or you're going to pick up on the message of what is possible for you.
It's an embodied way of learning, right? It's lived example. If I could give some lessons or lectures over a couple of days that might give some guys some ideas on how to have a different perspective going forward, or a different practice going forward in their life. But if you sit in the simmering energy of reconvening and coming together and really starting to feel and flow, you become more like what you're involved with. Like, you become, something grows in you, in small increments of understanding and learning, as opposed to a blast of insight, in the first weekend, for instance, right? So I go back to the idea that this is a collaborative um, journey of discovery and experience that we're all going on together. That's how I feel. Which is what excites me. I want to be part of something too. I want to go down the road with this incredible mindset and incredible group of compadres.
We could probably separate learners into a number of different types, but two types of learners come to my mind now. First of all, there are those that get the notepad out and want to record it, want to download the recording, I want to write down everything that I hear, and then build that mental process. And there are others that are like, I just need to be in this room and I want to feel it.
That's
right. And
that's
typically, if you reduce yourself to when am I going to get the golden nugget from the teacher that I can write down and then say to myself as a mantra and then go and apply, you narrow down what you can receive. But it's almost like those that are, I just want to open to the experience and imbibe what I can. There's a possibility for the, whatever it is, it's very mysterious in a way. We decide we want the culture to be this kind of a way.
Yeah.
We're kind of clear it's completely unnameable, but there's a mysterious factor to it. And by immersion in this culture, you pick up on the subtle clues and the cues and drink it in. And it has a bit more of a mysterious transforming effect.
Well, this is how I learned, Jordan. What we're offering is the way we learned our own things. I didn't read books or get mentored or have a coach. I sat in the company of and tried to understand the wherewithal and the sense of presence that I saw, and I wanted to emulate what I saw in presence of this type of thing. So it's the way I learned from the earth. My learning didn't come from academia, didn't come from books, didn't come from weekend intensives. It came from the earth. Came from my experiential collision of my body with the earth, and was what I want to impart to others. Like this is what the gift to you, to have the same frame of reference, the same sense of learning from the osmosis of inclusion, which is like it's the only thing that interests me. I could write down the information and hand it out, but it doesn't get you that. It doesn't give you that gravitas behind your eyes, which I'm talking about. Which women, when they look at you and they say, "There's something about that guy," and I don't know what it is. This is what we're trying to foster.
This is where I want to bridge the conversation into a couple of examples, because the theme that's interesting to me right here is how to be a man. I'm speaking to men here. How to be a man that transmits a certain context or transmits a way of being or a possibility out into the world. So I don't have to say very much, but who I am lets her know, or everybody know, what here is possible and what here is not really possible. So a couple of examples. I was at dinner last night. We had a salon with all the kind of castaways and marooned individuals that haven't been able to return home yet. We were 8 people out at dinner. We had a really nice salon down in one of the restaurants. One of the men asked me a question, and I could feel in his question that he was right on the cusp of getting something, right on that line. And basically he's saying a woman, he's dating a woman, and he can feel that she's playing a couple of little games using her emotions to try and manipulate and pull him into her hope and expectation that he be the boyfriend type, the provider type, this guy. And he's watching it. He's watching the machinations like, oh my word, she's getting emotional in this kind of way. And I feel the tendency in me that is to, I don't want her to get emotional. I want to calm it down. So I'll give up. And he's basically asking the question, what do I do in that situation? And I'm saying, well, you can already feel that you're leaning in, trying to appease her and make sure her emotions don't get too carried away. What if you detach, your emotions actually are not my problem. I don't need to make them small or fix them or even make them good. I can actually just watch you play out your drama, and I will sit in my frame of, I'm not that guy. I'm this guy. I'm clinging to my story and my narrative of what I want here and not getting pulled into what you want me to be. I could feel he was just on the cusp of, owning total freedom. I'm here to be a lover. I'm here actually not to be constrained and be put prematurely in the boyfriend box. And he's in the heat of the battle. So I wonder if you can make a comment. I'm sure millions of guys can relate. This is about the context of what you transmit. You're standing there, you've had a few dates, you've been intimate a couple of times, and your whole body and everything you say is an invitation to her, either put me in the boyfriend box, like I'm going to go there, or no, I'm going to maintain my sovereignty. I'm fully available for now, but I'm not able to commit to forever or this period of time that you seem to be trying to wrest me into.
Well, you gave the guy a good answer. You just elucidated it here to us. Like what you said was profound and accurate. Like I'm this guy, and you don't apologize for it. So I think that you gave the answer to this, and the same answer that I would give. Keep your sovereignty. Remember that this is a call for men that want to look at their life as an artful expression, as something they're creating as art. And if you're that guy, then the trivialities of this kind of conversation must serve your greater vision of what you want your life to look like. And you want her to buy into that. You want her to be involved in that. You want her to support that. And you want to celebrate her in her own version of that. So there's something in you transcends this kind of low level discourse, I think, because you you can express it, and you can express great desire, and you can express great adoration for her, and you can also express that I'm not the guy, if that's what this guy is saying. So, but it's got to come from oh my goodness, it's got to come from a sense that you're caught up in a journey that is larger than you, obviously. So it's larger than what we're doing here. This is incredible. It has to come from that phrasing.
I sense you understand exactly the situation that I'm trying to describe, right? The woman that you just started dating, and the kind of men that we often speak with who are like, I'm right on that line, and can I remember the words? What am I supposed to say to her? No, I'm a guy that's caught up in a transcendent journey for what is possible. A lot of the men we work with are like, I want to say the thing. It feels, can I say that? It's bold. To claim to a woman, actually, like, I'm caught up in something that's bigger than me and bigger than us, and that's what it is. You have to be willing, actually, to say something really bold that risks breaking
but it's
what
a great
you just
thing.
created.
Exactly. You can say, listen, my whole spirit is I'm trying to understand my path through life. I meet you and I think you're incredible. And my whole inquiry about you is, are you part of this journey that I'm on? Because you look like it, you feel like it, and it's exciting. But I'm dedicated to that trajectory above all. And there's no compromise in the spirit. There's no settling. There's no, okay, well, it's the only girl I got for now, so there's no, until another girl comes along, I'll hang out with her because she's a good cook. She's good in bed. It's none of that feeling. It's like you stand on earth in her eyes, if you present it that way, and if you believe it for yourself, in a different context than other men. You're trying to understand something. And everything, all the trivialities of which I say, how do I make her, come from this knowledge that you have that you are trying something greater, and you can look at it with those eyes. It's abstract, I'm trying to explain it, but it's very
What
real.
what's happening in this moment in the example is there is a power battle, and she wants to enroll him into the narrative and story and adventure, which is he's going to come in and be my boyfriend or my husband or my
Right.
provider type and this guy. So if you lose this battle, you fall into her grand narrative. But what you're saying here is cling to your own grand narrative. Like
Yeah.
it's the only thing that you've got right now. And the invitation is I'm not going to go into the giant hoop that you've got held out for me. I'm actually inviting you to come into this, and I'm not going to lose my narrative of self and what I'm trying to do in this period at
Yes.
all.
And the essence of this is you're not going to enter into a normal relationship that the world's used to, society's used to, which is, you're going to enroll. You're only interested in enrolling in something that adds to the metaphysical spirit of your journey. That's it. And she and the relationship with her could be that catalyst.
Hmm.
And if it isn't, then it's just a girl, or it's just another relationship where you watch Netflix and hang out together, and you suspicion each other, and just any of the normal. It's a different way of relating it, man. I talk about this a lot. I think about this a lot. It's the concept of creating the sense of adoration and devotion in you and her, the sense of the beloved. This is, you want something profound with your relationship, and she does too. She doesn't know it maybe, but she does too. And you're the catalyst. You're the creator of that. And anything else is just boyfriend, girlfriend, partner. Um, it's fun until it isn't.
Hmm.
So it's, you want your relationship to align with the feeling that of your heart's journey. And
Yeah, that's leadership, and that's transmitting the context of what can be possible with you. What I mean, yes, there are smart and independent and intentional women out there, but I think it's worth just having a frame of like the default is unless I say this and make really clear what my narrative is that I'm
yeah,
living in my life,
it's up
she
to you.
might pull me towards a
That's
conventional
right.
default deflating thing. So I have to hold like not waver. It's such an interesting point to be in when he can feel, the man can feel her will is kind of pulling me into this relationship shape that she wants or is feels
That's
like
right.
normal, but it's not mine. And I can't really say no to it because I don't want to rock the boat or have an emotional
Don't want to
outburst. So
lose
I'm
her.
willing to kind of give. Yeah. And you can feel yourself losing yourself in that moment. It's such a like the precipice to just say back and say, no, you have your emotions. I'm going to stand here and offer a different possibility that you might go nuts tonight and hate me. And, I was saying to our friend last night, throw glasses at the wall and scream, but then come back the next day and say, actually, I thought about it. And what you propose is a different thing. I get it. I wanted to make, before we wrap up, just say give an example. 10, 11 years ago, I recorded a podcast with Deanna, and I know some people will come in the comments and be like, where can we listen to this? It's gone. I mean, where do old podcasts go to die? Right? It's not in any
Yeah.
hard disk that I have. Hopefully someone will churn it up at some point.
Wow.
But I asked Deanna the impact on her of meeting you and what it was like in the first few weeks. And she was like, well, of course, I went to my girlfriends and I was like, I met this guy last night. He's inviting me. I kind of want to go, but what do you think? You know,
Hmm.
and some of them are like, yeah, I don't know. He's like twice your age, and he was really fucking around, like I don't, flirting with everyone in the club, and we don't know what we feel about this guy. And then a couple of the other girls were like, well, um, hang on a minute. There was something about the way he was showing up that this is what Deanne said to me in the podcast. She was like, he seems like he's going to open up um, different possibilities for you to grow and explore. Like
Oh
this is a
wow.
guy who sees life through a different paradigm, And if you date him for a bit, he's going to show you into a different world and life that none of the other men at your age in this town, in this context, are going to be able to offer you. And it seemed to me almost like the artist or the seeker in Diana was like, actually, that's an
Well,
adventure worth taking.
15 years later, man. She
Yeah.
just I just had a conversation with her yesterday where she was talking to somebody about a relationship and what she's gained, and what I've gained. This is a good example. This relationship to me feels like it's on a transcendent plane as opposed to just my girlfriend, and we date each other and we see each other. I long for her success. I want her to be fulfilled and feel abundance. It's my top priority. I will say this: her happiness is my top priority, the highest priority. I would cancel everything else just to make sure that she's fulfilled and aligned. So
It's so funny you say that because the 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 guy who's having a terrible time with women running rings around him and he's pulled out of shape and into relationship places he doesn't want to be in will also say my highest priority in life is to keep her happy.
well, imagine this,
But you feel
Jordan.
like the intention and the tone of it is worlds apart. But it's
Totally
funny
apart.
they could say the same, yeah, but they could say
Because
the same words.
I cannot be pulled into a traditional. A, it's not possible for me to be pulled into a traditional he said she said type of relationship. I'm not. It's not possible. It doesn't align with what I see in my mind, the
Mm.
vision I'm trying to go for. It doesn't align with it. So it's not possible. If it isn't an uplifting spirit in our relationship, in the relationship, it has to end. I would end it in a second. If it's just
Let's
journeyman.
let's let's pause it here, but I want to share one key thought that's been on my mind as we said in the intro that you're up in the context of what beauty and the purpose of beauty in the cosmos means and so on for all of us. I think one of the big themes that I'm holding this year is that of inhabiting and creating a world. Each of us creates a world.
Thank you. Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of men do not really feel like they have a sense of world. And if they can get into her world, then it might be great. Probably a better experience than being alone in their own world. And what I want to
Good point.
really put on the table for people is you do inhabit your own world, even if it's just tabs open on the browser, chip packets, takeout, pizza boxes littering your room. That is a world. So you construct your world, the thoughts, the music, the feelings, the what you read, what you think in that, and you then invite into your own world. I don't see a lot of the conversation around what is the world I would like to create for my own self,
Correct.
and therefore arrive to date number one. Arrive. People are asking how do I approach that woman at the bar? Well, what if you arrive to a woman in the bar and make eye contact, knowing that you've constructed an entire sense of world around you? This is where I really want to open the conversation, a very
That's
creative conversation with men.
This is the conversation we need to have for sure, because it's like, and it's 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 abstract, it's metaphysical, but it's real. It's the real thing. It's if we can grasp into this, then all the techniques and all the tactics and all the things we're trying to understand fade into the background, because it comes from the presence of you and and what you're becoming, what you're longing for and what you're becoming. So it's
Hmm.
great.
We'll pause
Yeah.
here for today. Already two or three big themes on the table. Let us know your thoughts and comments. And if you want to go really deep into this, check out the guild and apply. If it's the time in your life where you really want to figure this out, come on a journey with Zan and I, and we'll see you inside the guild. See you next week.